there was no end goal, right? If there's a flag and there's a country, hey, all we have to do is take the capital. We cut off the head of the snake. It's over. When you're fighting ideology, there is no end. There is no winning. There is actually just making more martyrs of these people who, oh, down with the West. And all of a sudden you kill them, in a firefight. And then it's like, oh, they've killed that guy. And then all of a sudden you've made more martyrs who then come in. And so we were just in this perpetual cycle for the first 7 months. And then whoever took over for us, I know their first few months were pretty bad too, of for about a solid year in Iraq, it just became a war zone of a free for all where their tactics changed drastically. They went from the occasional pot shot, the occasional IED to I don't think one of the recon trucks left that compound and didn't get hit at least once a day. What now? Rarely, believe it or not, rarely did it kill anyone because it was mostly taking off tires and bumpers and like a lot of the IDs were not very good. But someone was always getting hit. A truck was always down, and now you're stopped in the middle of a road in enemy territory. The raid's probably not happening now because now you're stuck. So it was just a constant barrage that we never felt like there was like we never had a positive. Even the very few things we felt like we did, it didn't seem to affect anything, and it just we were just tasked with a new thing, and it was like, all right, well now what? Like that didn't do anything. That didn't make it better. So it was very hard to feel like you were fighting the good fight and at the same time be going through all these big emotions and stuff because like it was very difficult to reconcile that there was good people there and half of them were still trying to kill you.
And all of this was IEDs. There's no fighting back. There's no firefight or anything. It's just
We
all.
had a couple firefights, but they were you're against as an insurgent you are literally taking on probably one of the best trained units in the Marine Corps or the military. So anytime that they tried to fight us, you know we always won, and to a point of like it was almost like comical like how quickly we won. So there was no point, like I mean every time they would shoot at us, you shoot at us, we're shooting back at you with, they're doing AKs. We're doing heavy machine guns. We're doing the grenade launchers of death, 40 Mike grenade launchers. We're doing sniper rifles. Like we had more snipers per person than any other unit, I would say, in the military, besides like a stay unit, which is all snipers. The Marines used to have stay units. But like, so in my 20-man platoon, we had five snipers, trained snipers. So like 25% of our guys were trained snipers. And so like when you come at us, like you don't know where half of us are. And most of the time when we would bait them, so what Gunny Riv would start doing is he would make us look like a green unit. So we rolled out like gypsies because we'd be gone for a long time. So our trucks looked like nothing else in Iraq. We had bags clipped to the side. Our weaponry looked different. Like everything about us looked, you're like, oh, there they are. There's the recon guys. So we would take it all off and then drive around in these stripped down trucks where everything's like crowded inside with us with no heavy gun, no like, and try to get them to be like, oh, there's this, green unit, probably just in country. This is who we're going to go after. And we'd go to a place that already had teams established there 3 days earlier. There's already sniper teams waiting. You are coming to us thinking you're the cat when really we want you to come deeper in. And we had one team of guys pull up in a car thinking they're going to do a drive-by, and they pulled up 100 feet from a team of five guys who had more weaponry and ammo than could start a coup. I mean, they were dead center in front of a 7.62 machine gun. I mean, they fired off maybe a clip and a half between the three of them. And when we got to the battle, which wasn't even a battle, it was very one-sided, the car had been burnt to the axles because the tracers in the 7.62 had lit it on fire and just burnt it. I mean, there were so many of them. And the other two guys were just, they never had a chance at 100 feet from five very highly trained. And the team leader in that pit was just mad that they weren't further away because he was a sniper and he wanted to shoot him with a sniper rifle. Like it was just so they never you never have a stand-up chance against a unit like us. Or even I would say you don't have a stand-up chance against like a Marine Corps, unit, infantry unit in general, because this is what we're trained for. You fire at us. This is what we know. This is what we've trained for. All our immediate action drills, all our everything is focused on a gunman or gunmen firing at us from wherever. And we know how to get to you. And we always, the first thing we do is we call it establish fire superiority. You have more lead coming at you in about a half second than you know what to do with. Our first immediate action drill was half of our guys would immediately drop a mag in the direction we're aiming, just 30 rounds in as fast as the gun can go on fully auto. Then we switched back to single shot. We never did burst. It was always single shot. We were never allowed to go full auto unless that. And now you've had 1,200 rounds put down on your position in half a second, and now they're well aimed shots. Like, what chance? Right? What chance does a guy with an AK have? So it was we had a couple of those, and they were amazing. Like they were exactly what we hoped, and like they gave us those moments of like, okay, we know what we're doing. We're very good at this, but they were so few and far between because I wouldn't stand up against a military like that, like as a single guy or whatever. We had a few sniper shots fired at us, but Gunny Rivera always had us bring ballistic glass from Humvees, like the windshields. We had to hump the windshields up to the rooftops. So every rooftop was behind 6 inches of ballistic glass. So we could look out. And if you fired at us, like you weren't hitting us, like you're hitting ballistic glass. It took 6 hours to make our firm bases, little fortresses with sandbags and all these ballistic glass. But then we were invulnerable for the most part. And so if you do that so much that they look at you and they're like, yeah, no, I'll go fight somebody else. The cities were the worst. I don't think people understand how bad city fighting is, like how bad entering a building in general is. I had a guy who came from the straight infantry who was in Fallujah when Fallujah was happening, and he'd just come over after. And he was like, it was a turkey shoot. We had no chance. There's guys who they live here. This is their city, and we're told to like walk down Main Street. And he's like, what? He's like, we got annihilated comparatively. But they would get in firefights if they knew they had hidey holes, escape routes. Because where we're in the Zidon where we were, if you were firing at us, you were probably in the one building, in 180 degrees. So like we knew where you were. In a city, you could be in 1,000 windows. You could be in a doorway we don't see, and you could run out the back and never. You could drop your rifle and run out the back, and all of a sudden be a civilian in 10 seconds. And then what? We don't know. We had to keep kits to look for gunpowder on hands because they would fire at you, walk around a tree, come out the other side without a rifle, and be like, "Oh, what happened?" And you're like, "Oh, I'm pretty sure it was you." And then you'd have to, dust for, gunpowder. Oh, it was you. Okay, we're taking you in. Like that's the kind of battles we were fighting that was really difficult to like handle. Some people never saw that side of the Iraq war, never saw the blood, the guts, the killing, we had guys who never left Camp Fallujah. So we would Camp Fallujah had like a entertainment tent that was a huge building that had like game consoles, like Nintendo, and like you could play pool, and they literally were talking about like their lives were like a 9 to 5, like in the desert. They had air conditioning in their trailers. They actually ran Ethernet across the trailer so they could play their Xboxes against the trailer next to them. So it was like, yeah, it was. I had a friend who he lost someone very dear. He watched them get just mowed down by a machine gun. I think it's the old woman led them into an ambush. She got killed too. Like she led them knowingly into a machine gun that was 10 feet away. And he watched his friend just get torn apart. I remember he came home back to the trailers and he took out his knife and he just started cutting all the Ethernet cables between all the trailers. just angry because they're like, again, even like, so there's that like home like the US, and then even like in Camp Fallujah I got yelled at. We just got back from a fucking horrible mission. I don't remember which one it was, but I have blood on me. Like I'm just, and I went right to the chow hall because they only have like certain hours, and I was wearing my Oakley boots, which are not issue boots for every other thing, but they're issue for Recon. So we had Oakley stuff, Oakley everything. So we had Oakley boots, Oakley glasses, like look great, but they're the most comfortable boots in the world. But they're not issue and they're not bloused. I'm in line at the chow hall. I'm just dead to the world. And this warrant officer comes up beside me, and the second he like stood like right here, I was like, fuck. And just starts screaming at me in the middle of the chow hall in front of everyone about how I'm a disgrace and like how my boots are not bloused and how I need to go back to my trailer and change my boots to come back to the chow hall. And I just like there was I'm glad I listened to the reasonable side of my head because there was a part of me that wanted to scream back and be like, "You mother, like, are you kidding me right now? Like, do you not see the blood? Do you not like? I just want some food and I want to go back to my truck. I don't want to hang out with you guys. But like, so there even within the base there was a contingent of like those who went out of the side of the wire and those who like so the ones who like were in the wire who like never left like they still got mortared every once in a while and rockets but they were like lightning strikes very random very like oh a building on the outside but like it even felt like amongst the Marines on that base that there was this those who left and those who didn't and those who left were almost like a completely different species of people like we didn't go to the entertainment center at night, and like we didn't like we stayed in our trailers amongst ourselves and we either were eating or sleeping or we're at battalion headquarters cleaning our weapons and so like it was almost like a little city where you had these people who didn't even know what was happening outside the wire. We were all from various backgrounds. Like it was one was from Louisiana, one was from the Bronx, one was I was from the mountains of New Hampshire. Like and so one was from Ohio. So we're all from one was from Erie, Pennsylvania, but none of us have remotely the same backgrounds. We're not, socioeconomic, parent, whatever. And so we're all very desperate in our backgrounds, but all of a sudden as we got there, you just become this like well-oiled machine of who can you can trust them. Without saying a word, they're going to be doing what the thing that they need to be doing for you, and you'll do the same. Because if they don't, you're both going to die. And this is also this doesn't just happen. We practiced for almost a year before we went over together. And so we were 90% of my life for a year was spent with these guys. Like we slept together, we ate together, we shit together. Like there was no privacy. There was no, you're out in the woods like you are so close that you just have that unspoken like, "Hey man," and he's already doing it. You don't even have to ask. And so you develop this relationship or you hope to people get tighter with their unit and their guys they're with than I think any other person they've ever been with because you're sharing something that no other friendship does. You don't die with your friends very often, or there's not that real remote chance, or what like. And so you can have friends that you're like, oh, he's nice, but I wouldn't trust him with my life. Whereas in the military, that is all there is. He might not even be the most fun guy, but do you trust him with your life? And so a lot of things that like you might not be hanging out with him outside for a beer if you guys were in the civilian world, but you're definitely laughing together and having a good time knowing that he's proficient and he's going to have your back. And so you do develop these relationships of I would have died for them and they would have died for me. Like we talked about this in the moment, like what were the limits? Like what were like because at the end like we talked about, hey man, if I'm 90% burns, especially after watching those guys, would you put me down? If you weren't going to get caught, like just put me down. Like I don't want to live through this. And we had these very serious conversations about what if, you know? I don't want to live like that. Please, just make sure I'm go pain free. You're like, okay, man, I love you, love you. Because that was a reality 10 seconds from now we might be facing. And so we were very honest and close. And so we were always the team they went to for everything. We were the shit, our team was the team. And so it was always good camaraderie. It was always everyone was really good at their jobs. And
Yeah.
so it was easy to love these guys. And they were a fun group of guys. And so you take all that love and all that caring you had for the rest of the world and you narrow that focus down to those that you can save maybe in the moment, you know. What's happening back home doesn't matter to you, but what's happening second by second right then does matter. And so you're the feelings are intense. Everything's turned up. The adrenaline, there's no weak emotions. The hate, the love, the everything is just to as far flung as it could get in the human experience. And I think that was kind of what I wanted to experience when I first signed up. Not to that extreme. I think my cup runneth over a little bit there, but I had read these accounts of this happening and I was like, "Oh, that sounds like a wondrous thing. I want to experience that." I still would probably die for those guys in a way that I have never made a friend since that doesn't pale in comparison, which is sad, but
Mm.
I think you just harden yourself, and then there's this wall that will never truly come down, that they're behind and will always be behind, and the rest of the world was always kind of just going to be on the other side of it.
I hear you. And so when you, again, here's my
Yeah.
thesis. When you look back on this experience and look for meaning, where is the meaning in this? The meaning is not in whatever the Pentagon was saying. The meaning is not in the state of Iraq. I mean, the condition of Iraq. The meaning is in you and the Marines you worked with, and that's the meaning of the war.
Yeah. So for me, like, I think I got what I wanted out of it. Because if as a writer, as somebody who wanted to experience this, had felt like he had to experience the high highs, the low lows. Could I engage an enemy? Could I stand as close to my death as possible and not balk? Um, I think that those experiences were terrible, but just the most wonderful thing I could experience as far as seeing who I was, seeing who my friend, like watching my team specifically under fire when things went wrong, seeing the human experience at its absolute rock bottom. You get to see exactly who people are. You get to find out truths about yourselves you didn't know existed. Uh, I found personally, like I found a strength in me, and a ability to move through the world during this that I didn't think I had. So I found out a lot about myself, and I think, and because people ask me all the time, would you go back and do it again? Knowing what you know, doing what you did. I'm like, yeah, in a heartbeat. Like, yeah, it was the most terrible, awful things, and it's ruined my life in a lot of ways. But those moments with those guys and what I learned about myself, and, like, yeah, I'd probably go back. It really is the most profound human experience I think one can, of all the things I've experienced, and it's been vast, it has been the one thing that I think you cannot recreate, you cannot fake, you cannot. Seeing people in mortal combat is just the most profound experience as far as it will change you. And it will not necessarily for the better, but it will change you in a way that like you cannot take back. And I think there's very few experiences like that in the human experience that will truly change your fundamental core.